So we are talking Granny of the Dead. No, sadly, this is not the latest entry in the sadly passed away George Romero's Night of the Dead series. This is a low-budget kind of horror spoof written and directed by Tudley James. A British 2017 B-movie horror. The inspirations are clearly the Evil Dead series and things like Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, stuff like that. The story here focuses on a mysterious supernatural event that causes the elderly population of a small town to become zombie-like in nature. They seem more like the kind of the Deadites from Evil Dead, to be quite honest with you. But certainly zombie-like, and it's up to a kind of a group of young people to kind of find out what's going on and can they defeat this undead menace. You'll have to watch the film to find out. Now, the running joke I thought before watching this is always going to be, oh yeah, zombies with kind of false teeth, are they going to be that much of a threat, etc. And we've seen that before. We've seen it in the Fear the Walking Dead. We've seen that in the pilot episode of the Zombieland TV series. And I thought that pretty much was going to be a one-joke thing with this film. The thing to note with this movie, it is extremely low budget. Extremely low budget. But you can still get decent low budget films. So does it succeed? Let's talk about any good things first of all. The cast and crew here are clearly having a lot of fun. There's quite a lot of kind of winking at the audience, kind of lots of kind of meta references and rehashing kind of zombie lore in kind of in a way that's useful in kind of these character situations. So I feel like the cast and crew here are having a little bit of a love letter to the zombie genre. Does it work in their benefit? Not always, I've got to say. They're not quite as clever as they think they are. The two things I would say I kind of were impressed about, it's actually quite refreshing to see a zombie film where the cause of it is purely a supernatural event and some kind of like demonic thing that's happening. I kind of like that. I feel we don't see a lot of zombie films where that happens. It tends to be some kind of chemical spill or a comet going overhead or something like that. So it's kind of nice to see a zombie film that really just kind of embraces a supernatural element. And I have to say, despite the fact this is extremely low budget, I was very impressed with some of the effects here, both digital and makeup effects. So the makeup effects and the kind of gore, I've got to say, were pretty good. I was quite impressed. I mean, some of it looks kind of quite cheesy, but nonetheless, I still feel it works within the kind of the horror spoof genre that this film's going for. So I kind of like the effects, and there are a couple of instances where they do use digital effects, but I felt it was quite good for the kind of the level of film that this is. So I was quite impressed with that. However, the rest of this film is so low budget. I really do feel it will kind of put a lot of viewers off. The main critique for me is the technical side of things here, particularly the editing. The editing here is genuinely some of the worst editing I've seen. It seems so choppy and kind of seems so poorly edited together. It was really distracting. And they clearly not used professional equipment. There are certain scenes here that look like they've been filmed on an iPhone. The quality is really poor. And they haven't used some sound equipment in certain scenes. For example, we have a scene in a church, and there's a long shot, and there's clearly not a boom mic because it's picking up sound from a distance. You can tell. So stuff like that. They haven't got the money clearly for professional equipment. So it really does seem a kind of cheap film, not in a good way. I feel low-budget filmmakers can make use of guerrilla filmmaking and kind of still make pretty damn good low-budget films. But this one, really, you can tell the budget is very, very low. The acting here as well is, for the most part, pretty wooden. Now, yes, this film is a kind of a spoof film, and I feel that on one hand, you can kind of get away with a little bit of cheesy acting because you're kind of winging at the audience. But the other hand, I feel sometimes that can be an excuse. And the acting here is just, for the most part, like I say, pretty horrible, unfortunately, and doesn't make for a particularly fun viewing experience. I do feel the filmmakers are having far more fun than I feel viewers will have with this film. And I've got to say, outside of the concept, I don't feel it does much with it. I feel this could have been quite a kind of high concept idea, and it's just trying to ape other films of the genre. And I feel you can have low budget films like Evil Dead 2 and the original Evil Dead, of course, and a variety of other ones where you have this kind of like low budget schlocky humour, and they become sort of cult classics. This one I just don't think it's trying too hard to be that, I feel, and doesn't quite pull it off. Overall, even if you're a zombie fan, which I am, I still found this quite a struggle to sit through. The only really kind of redeeming points, I would say, some of the visual effects, what I do feel has to be, commended, and some good ideas in there in regards to the actual concept of it. But nonetheless, this definitely needed some more experience behind the camera, I feel, and maybe a little bit of a higher budget, and you may have had a bit more of an interesting film. Overall, I'll give this a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.